substituted for an active infrared (IR) night sight. He was provided with an independent, swivel-mounted Tumrunblick Pancret, TRP, 1am variable magnification periscope, 6 to 20 magnification, installed in the turret roof, in front of the commander's cupola, that could be slaved to the main gun and allow the commander to override the gunner and slew the turret. The searchlight for the active IR night vision system was designated XSW-30U and was mounted above the main gun on the mantlet, offset to the left. It could be removed and stowed in the rear turret bustle when not in use. The searchlight had a range of up to 1,200 m in ideal conditions, in the IR mode, covered by a special IR filter cover, or up to 1,500 m when projecting just white light. In later variants of the Leopard, a slightly modified XSW-30V searchlight was used. Finally, the loader has two periscopes to monitor a designated sector around the vehicle. The power plant is a 10-cylinder MTU MB838 CAM500 supercharged diesel engine. The tank is powered by an MTU MB838 CAM500 supercharged diesel engine that develops approximate 610 kilowatts, 820 HP, at 2,200 rpms. This is a liquid-cooled, 37.4-liter, 10-cylinder, 4-stroke engine in the V90 configuration with multi-fuel capability but which was typically run on diesel fuel, NATO designation F54, consuming approximate 190 liters per 100 kilometers. The engine, along with its cooling system, is coupled into a power pack with a 4 HP 250 transmission system, built by ZF, which has a hydraulic torque converter, locking clutch, planetary gearbox and pivot turn mechanism, for each of the gears. The entire power pack with transmission can be replaced in the field in approximate 20 minutes as it is mated to the hull by means of quick disconnect couplings. The tank suspension system has 14 independent torsion bars each with a control arm, and 10 hydraulic shock absorbers which are installed on the first, second, third, 6th and 7th pairs of road wheels. The running gear has 7 pairs of dual road wheels with rubber tires, a rear-mounted drive sprocket, frontal idler wheel and 4 return rollers on either side. The Leopard's hull is fabricated from welded armored plate of varying thickness and geometry, while the turret is a complex all-cast component. Crew protection was enhanced with an automatic, manual trigger also available, fire suppression system and an NBC protection system, which produces an overpressure in the crew compartment and provides filtration of supplied air. The Leopard 1 can ford water obstacles, up to 1.20 m deep, by wading without any prior preparation. Deeper obstacles, up to 2.25 m depth, can be negotiated by sealing the tank and fitting a foldable snorkel over the commander's cupola. 2 bilge pumps are provided to remove any water accumulated. Variants, edit. Leopard 101, edit. After the last vehicle from the first 4 production series was delivered, the Bundeswehr initiated an upgrade program in 1970 to increase the combat effectiveness of its tanks. Known as the Leopard 1, later Leopard 101, after the introduction of the Leopard 2, these tanks received a new gun stabilization system from Cadillac Gauge, full stabilization in both elevation and traverse, as well as powered elevation from -9 degrees to +20 degrees, that allowed the tank to fire effectively on the move. The 101 added metal rubber skirts along the hull flanks to protect against heat warheads, and the gun barrel was wrapped in a jacket to reduce deviation from thermal loads. The track was changed to a D640, a double-pin type with detachable, rectangular rubber pads instead of the earlier double-pin dial D139E2 track with vulcanized treads. The rubber pads of the new tracks could be easily replaced with metal X-shaped grouses for movement on ice and snow. 20 grouses were provided for each tank and stored on brackets on the front hull upper glacis when not in use. A new snorkel was developed that allowed for underwater driving to a depth of 4 m after sealing the tank with special plugs. The drivers and commanders' active infrared night vision periscopes were replaced with passive image intensification night sights. Between 1975 and 1977, all of the tanks in the first 4 batches were brought to the Leopard 101 standard, and given additional turret armor developed by Blom and Voss, which consisted of rubber-lined steel plates bolted to the turret, including the rear turret basket, with shock-resistant spacers. The gun mantlet received a wedge-shaped armored cover made from welded steel plates, and the engine's air intake system was improved. Thus upgraded vehicles weighed 42.4 tons. An upgrade in the 1980s added a hybrid LLTV forward/passive IR aiming and observation system, which were being handed down from the Leopard 2 as they were themselves upgraded to thermal imagers. The PZB 200 low light level television, LLTV, system with IRS 100 infrared scanner was developed by AG Telefunken and mounted in a protective cage on the mantlet, above the main gun, creating the Leopard 101-2. The system combined an LLTV camera, which was a type of image intensification device producing a TV picture on the commander's and gunner's monitors, coupled with an IR scanner, sensitive to thermal differences in the 3 to 5 m wavelengths and based on a PBS detector, which would superimpose the processed IR image over the LLTV signal to improve target detection and identification. In the late 1980s, all digital SEM80 /90 VHF radios were issued to the Bundeswehr and installed in various models of the Leopard 1. The Leopard 101 with these new radios received the Leopard 101-3 designator, and those vehicles with the LLTV /IR system and SEM80 /90 radios would be known as the Leopard 101-4. Leopard 102, edit. The first 232 tanks of the 5th production batch were delivered as the Leopard 102 between 1972 and 1974. The A2 included a heavier and better armored cast turret, which was visually difficult to distinguish from the previous type. The most notable difference were the oval, as opposed to round, armored housings for the optics of the TEM range-finding sight. The Leopard 102 tanks were not subject to further armor upgrades as was the 101, but did receive improvements to their NBC protection system. Throughout their service, these tanks would receive several other upgrades. The Leopard 102-1 received AEG Telefunken LLTV /IR sights. The Leopard 102-2 received digital radios, and the Leopard 102-3 got both. Leopard 103, edit. The next 110 vehicles in the 5th production batch were fitted with a new type of welded turret designed by Blom and Voss, which was equipped with spaced armor, consisting of 2 steel plates with a plastic filling between them, and a wedge-shaped gun mantlet, resulting in the Leopard 103. Although the level of armor protection was equivalent to the cast turrets of the prior 2, the internal volume was increased by 1.5 m and the effective protection level was increased. The commander was given an improved TRP-2AM independent observation periscope, and both of the loader's fixed periscopes were replaced with a single unit with tilt and traverse adjustment. Most of the vehicles of this batch were allocated to the 10th and 12th Panzer Divisions. Henceforth, all newly manufactured Leopard 1 tanks from Krauss Maffei and Mark A would use this welded turret, as casting large parts such as tank turrets was overly complex and the welded design carried greater upgrade potential. Subsequent upgrades were parallel to the 102 models, the Leopard 103-1 with improved night sights, Leopard 1 A3 A2 with the new radios, and the Leopard 1 A3 A3 with both. Leopard 1 A4, edit. Leopard 1 A4 at the German Panzer Museum Munster. The vehicle is displayed with a deep fording snorkel, which would be used to draw in combustion air for the operation of the engine while submerged in water. The Leopard 1 A4 formed the sixth batch of 250 vehicles, 215 manufactured by Krauss Maffei and 35 from Mark A, starting delivery in 1974. The 1 A4 was externally similar to the 1 A3, but included a new, integrated fire control system. This consisted of a stabilized PRR-12 independent sight for the commander, a new EMS-12A1 stereoscopic rangefinder coupled to the gunner's primary sight, a fully stabilized main gun and FLA-HG ballistic computer. Many of these systems were derived from the Leopard 2 program. While the EMS-12A1 was still just an optical rangefinder, the desired laser rangefinder was still in development. It was used for target acquisition and linked to the ballistic computer, which would automatically produce a lead angle once the range was measured and several other ballistic inputs were computed. This solution reduced the time between target acquisition and engagement and increased the first round hit probability. The PRR-12 sight improved the commander's efficiency, allowing him to acquire and relay targets to the gunner considerably faster in what can be considered the precursor to hunter-killer capability. The PRR-12 sight also had an integrated night channel, second-generation image intensifier, toggled with a switch, a considerable improvement over the prior TRP sights which had no night vision capabilities and had to be UN installed and exchanged for an infrared device. The PRR-12 was mounted in the turret roof forward of the commander's cupola and was protected by wire guards. The gunner's forward-looking observation periscope was deleted. The new equipment for the fire control system consumed additional space and the ammunition load was reduced to 55 rounds, of which 42 were stored in the hull-mounted magazine, while the remaining 13 rounds were in ready racks in the turret. The hull received only minor modifications involving the layout of the tow cables and storage rails for the winter grousers. Final deliveries of the Leopard 1 A4 for the Bundeswehr took place in 1976 and would mark the conclusion of Leopard 1 production for Germany. Leopard 1 A5, edit. In 1980, a research program was undertaken to investigate further improvements to the Leopard 1, stipulating the need for a new fire control system /ballistic computer and thermal camera for effective night and all-weather capabilities to effectively fight against the more sophisticated Soviet T-64B, T-72B and T-80B series of tanks. A crucial part of the upgrade was the introduction of more effective ammunition, including new APFS rounds. The decision was made to base the upgrade on earlier models which were no longer competitive. The resulting Leopard 1 A5 was a retrofit of 1,225 Leopard 1 A1 vehicles from Bundeswehr stocks. After trials, the Krupp Atlas electronic EMS-18 fire control system, which was developed from the EMS-15 used on the Leopard 2, was selected in December 1983. The large, box-like armored enclosure for the EMS-18 primary sight was mounted on top of the turret, in front of the commander's hatch, and contained a fully stabilized, both in azimuth and elevation, head mirror which was used for the daylight vision channel, 12 magnification and 5 degrees field of view, NDYAG laser rangefinder and a WBGX thermal imager from Carl Zeiss. The gunner would access both day and night channels from the primary sight via binocular eyepiece, in addition to his backup telescopic daytime sight, the TZF-1AM from previous models. The commander would receive imagery from the gunner's primary sight on his ocular by way of a light pipe. His station retained the panoramic periscope, improved model TRP-5AM, and vision blocks, with the TRP sight and forward-facing vision block raised to clear the EMS-18 sight housing. Both commander and gunner could control the turret traverse with hand controllers, but an override function was given to the commander. In a typical engagement scenario, the commander would identify the target and slew the turret to its azimuth, then hand the target over to the gunner. Using the primary sight, the gunner would aim at the target and laze it to obtain a range. Tracking would be initiated if the target was moving. The fire control computer would then take the manual, ammunition type, target speed obtained from the horizontal turret traverse rate, and automatic inputs, vehicle cant correction from a vertical sensor, atmospheric conditions, powder temperature, altitude, and continuously compute super elevation and lead solutions for the main armament. Control signals were transmitted to the turret and main gun drives to align the plotted aiming mark with the main gun bore axis, without disturbing the line of sight. Once these were coincident, the gunner could fire. The fire control computer contained ballistic information for up to 7 different ammunition types. Upgraded tanks initially made use of the existing Cadillac gauge stabilization system, but since 1988, all Leopard 1A5s were either built or retrofitted with a new SRK servo hydraulic turret and gun control system. The bulbous, horizontally opposed objective housings for the optical rangefinder were removed and their openings in the turret, sealed with armor plates. 2 new types of high-performance kinetic energy APFS rounds were introduced for use in the Leopard 1A5. The DM-23, a variant of the Israeli M111 Het-6, and DM-33, Israeli M413 Het-7, rounds. One test vehicle was armed with the smoothbore 120mm main gun, and all A5s are adapted to carry this weapon, but the concept did not proceed into production. The running gear on these vehicles was improved with strengthened torsion bars and shock absorber mounts. Lifting hooks were welded to the hulls of early production vehicles which lacked them, first and second batches, and the driver's station received high-pressure washers for his observation periscopes, later installed in most Leopard 1s in German service. A 3-tone camouflage was also applied to all tanks undergoing the conversion to a 5 standard. The first modified vehicle was delivered in December 1986, and the conversion process ran until 2001/2002, which coincided with a reduction of armored forces in the Bundeswehr, resulting in fewer Leopard 1A5 tanks delivered than were originally authorized. Most of the Leopard 1A5 tanks delivered to the Bundeswehr were assigned to formations of the former East Germany Army. Leopard 1A5s which received new SEM-80/90 VHF radios in the late 1980s were designated Leopard 1A5A1. Since then, almost all users of the Leopard 1 have applied similar changes to their own vehicles, and in most ways the 1A5 can be considered the standard Leopard 1 today. Leopard 1A6, edit. The Leopard 1A6 prototype was a single Leopard 1A1 test, modified with additional armor on the turret and equipped with a 120mm L/44 gun. The project was ended in 1987, as the Leopard 2 was in widespread service at this point and the 1A5 offered a more reasonable upgrade path for a fraction of the cost. Modified and derivative vehicles, edit. Simultaneous to the production of the battle tanks, a number of engineering, bridging and recovery vehicles were developed, as well as a number of versions used in the anti-aircraft role. The most well-known Leopard variants are the Bridge Layer Beaver, Bergepanzer II Armored Recovery Vehicle, Pioneer Panzer II DAX, Badger, Armored Engineer Vehicle, and the Jeopard self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. The Warsaw Pact equivalent of the Jeopard is the ZSU-23-4. Marconi Electronic Systems once offered conversions to the Marksman Spark for existing users of the Leopard 1. The Leopard 1 chassis would be used to carry the Marksman turret. The Canadian Army operates the Beaver Armored Vehicle Launched Bridge, Taurus ARV, and Badger AEV, all based on the Leopard 1. The United Kingdom's Royal Marines operate a vehicle known as the Hippo Beach Armored Recovery Vehicle. The Hippo is a conversion of a Leopard 1A5 chassis by Alvis Moelf. The main alteration has been the replacement of the turret with a raised superstructure that resembles the wheelhouse of a boat. The original 830 HP, 634 kilowatts, diesel engine has been retained, but the gearing of the transmission had been lowered, reducing the vehicle's road speed to 32 km per hour. 20 miles per hour, but increasing tractive effort to 250 kN, 56,000 lbf. Other modifications include the addition of working platforms, a nosing block, raised air intakes and an auxiliary power unit. This raised the weight of the vehicle from 42.5 tons to 50 tons. The Hippo has a fording depth of 2.95 m, 10 feet, and can pull vehicles up to 50 tons weight or push off from the beach a 240-ton displacement landing craft. German company Flensburger Fahrzeugbau is the producer of a vehicle known as Weisend 1, a modernization of the Bergepanzer II. It comes in armored recovery vehicle, armored engineer vehicle and mine-clearing vehicle versions. The Weisend 1 is known to be operated by Denmark and Ukraine. Gilded Leopard, Iber and Kiela, edit. Almost as soon as the Leopard was introduced into service in 1965, Porsche was awarded a contract to study further improvements to the existing design, while awaiting deliveries of the MBT-70 in the mid-1970s. This original Gilded Leopard, Vergoldete Leopard, program expired in 1967 with no production order. In 1967, it had already become obvious that the MBT-70 would be a failure. The agreement between the US and the Federal Republic of Germany forbade any national development of an MBT apart from technological experimentation, so a new tank project was begun under the designation of Experimentalentwicklung or experimental development, 2 prototypes of which were built. When the MBT-70 program was ended, a further contract was offered under the name BOR, IBA, with an emphasis on using as many technologies from the MBT-70 as possible, but without the problematic XM150 152mm, 6.0 in, combined gun-forward/MGM-51 Shillala missile launcher. 2 prototype vehicles were constructed using a new chassis from Porsche with the road wheels from the MBT-70 and the original Leopard engine. This was combined with a new women turret, mounting the MBT-70's Rheinmetall 120mm smoothbore gun. Some also mounted the original 105mm L7. These were considered promising enough that 7 more were ordered, this time powered by the MTU engine designed for the MBT-70. When this happened, the Experimentalentwicklung team went public with their alternative design which they called the Kiela, a synonym of IBA. In 1971, the Minister of Defense, Helmut Schmidt, decided to abandon the IBA project and build 17 prototypes of a Leopard 2, based on the Kiela design, which had a turret with spaced sloped armor. The maximum weight was to be 50 tons. During the 1973 Yom Kippur War, 1950s and 1960s generation tanks were badly beaten by wire-guided missiles, and it was realized that dramatically improved armor protection was needed. The decision was made to allow the tank to increase its weight to the next classification, military loading class 60 tons. A new design effort was started, with the spaced armor replaced with a much denser perforated armor assemblage. The new design would go on to augment and, after the Cold War, sometimes replace the Leopard in many countries' armies. Jumbo Track Multi-Firefighting and Rescue Vehicle, edit. One ex-German Leopard 1 has been converted into a firefighting and rescue vehicle, called the Jumbo Track Multi-Firefighting and Rescue Vehicle, by Ram Europe. The conversion, commissioned by Ram Europe CEO Theodore Rentsos, involved the addition of a new metal superstructure over the hull. This superstructure contains a water tank capable of carrying 15,000 liters of water, as well as an air-conditioned compartment capable of carrying up to 10 passengers. Operational history, edit. Australia, edit. In 1974, the Australian government confirmed the purchase of the Leopard, with a total of 101 vehicles being acquired, consisting of 90 MBTs, 5 bridge layers and 6 ARVs. 2 more ARVs were purchased later. The first Leopards arrived in Australia from West Germany in 1976, ending a selection and trial process against the US M60 series that started in 1971, when the Army decided it needed a replacement for its British Centurions, which had served since 1952 and had been deployed during the Vietnam War. In March 2004, the decision was made to replace the Leopard 1 with reconditioned US M101 Abrams AIM. The first 18 of 59 M101 Abrams arrived in September 2006. The M88A2 Hercules is concurrently replacing the Leopard family of support variants in Australian service. The Leopard 1 was operated by the 1st Armoured Regiment and was officially withdrawn from service in July 2007. Their guns were never fired in combat operations. Some of the retired tanks were offered to military museums or RSL clubs. Belgium, edit. The Belgian Army received 334 Leopard 1B between 1968 and 1971. They equipped 8 tank regiments, each equipped with 40 Leopards, and the Armour School. The first regiment to receive the Leopard was the 4th Lancers, followed by the 1st Lancers, 2nd Lancers, 3rd Lancers, 8th Lancers, 1st Guides, 2nd Guides and finally the 2nd Mounted Rifles. From 1974, they were modified with a gun stabilization system and an automatic firing direction system, Automatisch-Vuurleidingssystem, AVLS, from Subca. This system allowed the gun to fire on the move. In 1984, the Army Command decided to upgrade 132 Leopard to the A5 standard as Leopard 1A5B. At the end of the Cold War, there was a drastic cut in the number of tanks and 128 were sold to Brazil. The upgrade started in 1993 and was completed in 1997. The upgrade included a new gun firing direction system with thermal imaging, a laser rangefinder and a muzzle reference system. At that time, 4 regiments were still equipped with the Leopard 1A5B. At the end of the 1990s, the remaining 4 regiments amalgamated into 2 tank regiments, the 1 ST/3 Road Lancers and the 2 ND/4 TH Lancers. In 2010, the 2 ND/4 TH Lancers was disbanded. Around 40 Leopard 1A5B were kept operational in the 1 ST/3 Road Lancers and Carabiniers Prince Budwig Grenadiers. The 1 ST/3 Road Lancers is no longer a tank regiment, but a medium infantry battalion, identical to the rest of the medium infantry battalions of the Belgian Army except for having a single squadron of Leopard 1A5B. Belgian Leopards have served in Kosovo. In 2014, following the government's decision to replace all land component tracked vehicles, Leopards, AIFV, and M113, with Piranha DF-90S, Belgian Leopards were retired from service, with most tanks being put on display, used for target practice, or sold inoperable to a Belgian company. During Eurosatory 2022, John Cockerill offered the Cockerill Medium Tank 3105 upgrade package for Leopard 1 tanks. The prototype for the upgrade integrated the hull of the Leopard 1 A5B, with a Cockerill 3105 turret. The only modification to the hull is the installation of an adapter ring for